Hello and welcome to another edition of the PHNX D-backs Podcast, live from Four Peaks 8th Street Pub. I am your mayor of PHNX and maybe the mayor of Four Peaks. We'll see if I can arrange that.
Just for today.
Of course, I'm Derek Montilla. This guy next to me, he's the Thunderstick and my vice mayor, the one and only Jesse Friedman.
Hall of Fame day?
Hall of Fame day.
Came and went?
Yeah, it came and went and was as unimpressive as advertised, I feel like.
You were unimpressed?
I was unimpressed. I was unenthused, Jesse. I was unenthused. But, of course, this show is brought to you by the fine folks at the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's top-rated sportsbook app. And, yes, let's get into it. Our man, Scott Rolen, former Philadelphia Philly, former St. Louis Cardinal, gets the call to the Hall and is the sole inductee for this year's Hall of Fame class, outside of the Contemporary Baseball Era Committee adding Fred McGriff, right? So They essentially go in together. But Scott Rolen is the only one inducted via vote. So what are your thoughts on Rolen and his career? 8-time Gold Glove winner.
I'm a big Scott Rolen guy, personally. Yeah. Scott Rolen is one of those sabermetric darlings.
He really
honestly
is. He really is. And Jeff Kent's mad about that, by the way. So he's mad at you about that.
I'm sure he is. But I mean, you look at these numbers that Scott Rolen put up over his career, and I think he's a pretty clear Hall of Famer. Personally, he's not what Adrian Beltre is going to be next year. He's not like that no doubt kind of a guy. I acknowledge that, but. I mean, 70 wins above replacement, according to Baseball Reference. That's a really big number.
That is.
If a guy with 70 WAR doesn't make the Hall of Fame, something has probably gone wrong, other than, I guess, there's the whole steroid conversation with a number of those guys. But
fair.
My biggest comp with Scott Rolen is this guy named Nolan Arenado, who I think a lot of people view as being a complete no-doubt Hall of Famer if he continues on the career trajectory that he's currently on.
Absolutely.
Scott Rolen has a career OPS plus of 122. Nolan Arenado, career OPS plus 124. Offensively, very, very, very similar. Scott Rolen, probably the best third base of his era in baseball. Nolan Arenado, arguably the best third baseman of his era as we stand right now. So I think those two players actually are very close comps to each other, and no one's questioning whether Nolan Arenado should be a Hall of Famer if he continues on the trajectory he's on right now.
I think the big thing there is Scott Rolen just lacks some of the accolades that people like to see. So, like you said, statistically, it makes sense. He had a tremendous career, and he was a value wherever he was, no matter if it was Philadelphia, St. Louis, or even later in his career. He still put up damn good numbers in Cincinnati, numbers that the Diamondbacks would happily take from a third baseman right now. I will say that.
Yeah, they would. Yeah, they'd take 38-year-old Scott Rolen right now.
I would take it. He was an all-star, right? Let's go. But, I mean, I also think that there's something to be said about the Baseball Hall of Fame having a lot of people in it that when you start comparing and you start kind of splitting hairs with some of these guys, especially on this year's ballot, where there's not clear cut favorites. There's Alex Rodriguez, obviously, that we believe belongs in the Hall, and a lot of people do. Obviously, there are some that are very much against that because of, I guess, accusations about performance-enhancing drugs his way and other things that he's experienced in his career, but still a stellar baseball career nonetheless. It just gets very hard when we start, digging down into it and basically saying people who aren't champions or weren't a multiple-time MVP or whatever don't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. He's a multiple-time All-Star, multiple-time Gold Glove winner, and he was one of the best third basemen in the game. Period. That's one thing. I remember when he went to the St. Louis Cardinals and how I was kind of just frustrated with that because much like the Cardinals team now, it seemed like back then there was just this gravitation towards St. Louis, and there was just always going to be in the Cardinals organization this ability to kind of re-up, and get that next big guy to come in and fill in for the guy kind of walking away or whatever at the time. So
they've certainly replaced Albert Pujols there.
with
a decent first baseman.
Yeah, they got a good guy there.
Took him a few years, but I think just looking at the ballot results as a whole, Scott Rolen barely got in. Frankly,
he really did.
76.3%. You need, of course, 75%. I think that's a 5-vote margin. So literally 5 ballots was the difference between Scott Rolen getting in and not getting in this year. Todd Helton, our friends over at DNVR Rockies, I know they're disheartened.
Yeah, our condolences to Patrick Lyons.
Our
and
condolences, 72.2%, but I think you feel really good about him getting in next year. Larry Walker, of course, eventually made it in with the Colorado Rockies, and he was not at the pace that Todd Helton currently is at. So a lot of times this isn't just about like who got in this year. It's also about who projects to get in the coming years, and Todd Helton is definitely in that category.
But it's silly, right? Like, it almost feels based on what writers, and no offense, Jesse is a Baseball Writers Association of America writer.
But you throwing shade? You throwing shade at me?
You guys are a bunch of clowns is what I'm telling you right here, right now to your face. No, what I'm saying is I
don't personally have a vote yet, so you can't call me a clown yet, all right? In 10 years, maybe you could.
The audacity, the unmitigated gall of this man to say I don't have one yet. No, my point being is that it almost feels like at times they want, you can't be a first ballot Hall of Famer unless you had this acclaimed career. So we got to get you in maybe on your 6th time on the ballot, maybe on the 7th time. You got to know your role and your place in baseball history. You ain't a 1-time or 2-timer. We know we got to get you back.
Right.
That part of it is so silly to me. It's really
like if we know Todd Helton's going to be a Hall of Famer, can we just put him in the Hall of Fame now?
I'm just saying,
what exactly
they're like, you know what? We need 3 more votes to get him in, but he doesn't deserve it this year. This is Scott Rolen's year. Like, I don't know. There's something to be said about, especially this particular group. You have a lot of guys that were very, very good baseball players. Yeah. But outside of 1 or 2, there are a few standouts here where you can ultimately say this guy fully belongs in. However, even with those guys that fully belong in, there's an argument to be made, like I said, about A-Rod, about other factors, kind of tarnishing his legacy as far as a baseball player that deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
If you just went based on Alex Rodriguez's career without any outside, interference there, he would be a first ballot Hall of Famer by far, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But we have this thing where guys got to know their place. Todd Father gets snubbed, but like you said, he'll get it next year.
He'll get in. I think Billy Wagner, he took an enormous step forward this year.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
Billy Wagner's on a trajectory to get there. He was at 68.1%, so pretty close on his. Has a
really good chance to get in next year. He also sent out a tweet about it, but at least we think he did. I don't know for sure because there's no way to tell if this image, this tweet right here, is actually him. It's basically just, it's a gray image. There's some, it might be him. I don't know. It looks like it might be him. I have no way of telling if this image is actually him or not. So, again, this is the importance of blue check marks and such on Twitter, Jesse. You can't have a faceless profile and expect me to believe this is the man. However, credible sources tweeted that out, so I'm sure that's actually him. I don't know.
Can I do a little 2024 Hall of Fame preview here real quick?
That's pretty crazy, but sure, if you want to get...
I'm going to go a little crazy with it.
We've done entirely too early predictions all offseason long, so what's another one?
I'm not necessarily... I guess I can make this a prediction. Adrian Beltre should be a no-doubt first-time Hall of Famer.
I agree.
We should not be wasting our time with that next year. Joe Mauer also joins the ballot next year.
Another guy that probably deserves to be in right away.
I grew up kind of I had a soft spot for the Minnesota Twins growing up. My mom's side of the family is from Minnesota, so we were all big Joe Mauer fans growing up. And I think he definitely is going to be in the Hall of Fame eventually. It's just a question of whether it's a first-time thing or whether it takes him a couple years to get there. Those are the biggest names. Chase Utley also will join the ballot next year. He's another guy who might take him maybe a couple of years, but I think he has a really strong case as well.
All right. Well, and I will say that not everybody is happy about, obviously, the vote. Jeff Kent, as we talked about earlier, falls off the ballot. He will still most likely make it into the Hall of Fame based on the Contemporary Baseball Era Committee voting him in, but that doesn't change him being mad about it. Jeff Kent's very mad. He's mad at analytics. He's mad at the stats you brought up earlier that validate Scott Rolen's, nomination. I feel like he also is just kind of mad because, on paper, in some ways, he feels like he's a better player than Scott Rolen, and here he is not even, falling off the ballot, not getting that nomination. Yes, he'll probably get in, but it does still feel like a slight when you didn't get in based on, the voting committee.
Yeah, it absolutely does. It is a little bit silly, I think, that we have to go through those alternative channels at times. Jeff Kent, you look at the numbers, and I think he has a pretty compelling case. So hopefully the ERA committee is able to get that one right.
Yeah. Well, on the other end of the spectrum, away from Hall of Fame, is probably as far away from Hall of Fame in news as you can get. Mike Clevinger has been reportedly accused of domestic violence and child abuse. And I think
it's a hard left turn.
I took a hard left turn there. I don't know how else to get into it, but it's kind of news that just came out over the last 24 hours, and it's information that obviously is not good for baseball, not good for Clevinger. I think the bigger problem here is that this was reported by his wife in the summer of 2022. And nothing was really done about it, and nothing. I don't know if this information was disclosed, but he did land with a new baseball team in the Chicago White Sox, and it just doesn't seem right, considering that we are trying to do everything we can to rid the sport of people that do things that kind of disqualify them from earning the right to play Major League Baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is also bad for the White Sox. I mean, they're the team that just signed this guy, right? And you already have, news like this coming out. It really sucks for a guy who hasn't even thrown an inning for your team yet.
Did you do your due diligence? Was there information passed along to you about this? Was this something that you just, kind of bypassed on or
Yeah.
No matter what, like you said, for the franchise, for the organization, as far as the White Sox goes, it doesn't look good either way. Either you ignored this information or you were unable to discover it. And I mean, I get that that's not something that, you can easily find out. However, I feel like if his wife already brought this to Major League Baseball's attention, that this should have been something that internally, at least, they were aware of.
Yeah, I mean, if you read the ESPN article behind this is written by Alden Gonzalez, there's, of course, it says Mike emphatically denies the accusations made by Ms. Feinstead. He has never harmed Ms. Feinstead or his daughter, attorney Jay Reisinger said. So, obviously there's some legal matters to be taken care of here. At this point, we're kind of in the early stages of that.
Sure.
But it's never good for, obviously a player or an organization to have this kind of news come out. And these situations get really messy, right? Even if it is just, accusations being thrown out there, that can have a really big impact, right? I mean, Trevor Bauer.
You're guilty by public opinion, basically, at that point, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the reason why, in the past, even though it seemed like teams were covering this kind of thing up, I feel like really what it was about was investigating it before it became public knowledge, so that way someone doesn't necessarily get villainized over accusations that may not be true.
Yeah.
However, according to the accusations, he threw chewing tobacco at his child, and I mean that right there alone is enough for me to kind of be disgusted with you as a human being. Even though that's not actual physical abuse or anything, but that's still just something that really, really is just awful. And I mean, there's probably nuances to this, like you said. He's denying the accusations, and again, even if he does end up like Trevor Bauer, like not throwing these two things together, but like Trevor Bauer, not actually being committed of a crime, there still is the court of public opinion that he, a player, an athlete, somebody that's in this kind of eye has to deal with.
Yeah.
Even should they be found, not guilty of any actual, crimes or anything like that.
Yeah. I mean, the White Sox made a substantial investment into Mike Clevinger. I mean, he's, he was one of the bigger name pitchers on the market. Obviously, he had a down year last year with San Diego and has dealt with some injuries the last couple years. But not that long ago, Mike Clevinger was one of the best young starters in baseball, and the White Sox were, very much relying on him to come back and be more that guy for them next year. So this just muddies that process for them in a big way.
I don't want to say something controversial because I know you hate that. I know Jesse hates when I do anything like this, but I just want to say there was something a bit unhinged about him and his reaction to Bob Brenly saying what he said.
The D-backs do have a history here.
With Clevinger, right?
Yeah.
And especially like just kind of being overtly aggressive. And I'm not trying to connect the dots there between these accusations and him, but there's times where you're like, bro, you're really picking a fight with Bob Brenly. Like, I get what he's saying, and I get that he wants to defend himself, but I can't imagine somebody that has, a pitching motion like Clevinger doesn't get that from every away team, broadcaster all the time. Like, I imagine that his odd delivery is something that he would be used to people kind of talking about or picking on him about, and he had a very aggressive response in retaliation to Brenly's, commentary during a game. And I mean,
he did. Not wrong.
Brenly's old, and I get it, but I mean, it's just one of those things that goes to show you, like, at times it's like there was something about that at the time that seemed like you're approaching this in way too angry of a way. This is baseball. Just kind of relax a little bit,
Yeah.
So
I see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
It's hard. You can't really connect those dots in any.
That's what I wasn't trying to say that, but I'm saying as far as our connection to Clevinger, we've had experience with him being very angry unnecessarily about something that really didn't seem to be that didn't call for that level of aggression about it. You know what I mean? But. Honestly, baseball really has something here to investigate, and I think that the bigger investigation might be, taking a look at accusations that were provided to you months and months ago, and that nothing was actually done about it. Or, if I'm the White Sox, I might be pretty upset if this wasn't disclosed to me that this was something brought to Major League Baseball's attention before we invested all of this money in this athlete.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're going to turn things up from here. Sorry to get down on it, but of course it's news. We got to talk about it. We're out here at Four Peaks Brewing Company. We're having a great time. I am dressed entirely too warmly. I got long johns on under these sweatpants. This is a dual layer here. I had a jacket. It's not nearly that cold out here. It's a beautiful day out here at Four Peaks
I brought
Brewing
extra
Company.
layers in my backpack, and
He did.
Surprisingly, I didn't actually.
Yeah,
need
he
them,
didn't.
so.
He didn't think his PHNX shirt would see the light of
I literally
day.
brought a winter jacket.
Me too. I did too. I brought a hoodie with another jacket and
I'm
another
wearing
jacket.
a fleece, and I brought a winter coat. I brought gloves, and I brought a hat.
She dressed. She dressed for Montreal.
I'm
is what she
literally
dressed for.
from Canada. I'm embarrassed.
Okay, so Leah has lived here too long. That's the conclusion that we've just made. But we're having a great time out here at the 8th Street Pub. We appreciate Four Peaks Brewing Company inviting us out, having us out here for their great beers. I am drinking a delicious Wow Wheat. We can't see this guy. He snuck up on me from behind. What do you got there? Some pizza?
Hello, sir.
What is it? That looks great.
It's called West Philadelphia Born and Raised.
Oh, on the playground is where I spent most of my days. Well, see, this is the kind of fun we can be having. You guys could be out here. We have the new recreational juice dank IPA, Staycation Super Juicy IPA. That one is on tap. The recreational juice, so popular, already tapped that keg. But there are some bottles if you want to grab some. Not to mention the Super Bowl is right around the corner, and what better place to spend it than right here at Four Peaks. Enjoy a nice Four Peaks beverage during the game. They'll have the games on. Beautiful place to have a party, maybe. Invite your friends. Everybody meet up here. That's what I do with my friends. We have parties, but not at anybody's house. We just find a place to meet up at and do that thing. So, again, thank you to Four Peaks for having us. Beers are delicious, and of course, you should be having them too with us. Right now, we got $3 Wow Wheat and Kilt Lifter pints. So if you come out here,
it's an insanely
deal. It's an insanely good deal. Another insanely good deal is getting yourself a PHNX Diehards membership over at gophnx.com. Of course, you guys know you're going to get Jesse's Diehard only pieces. Craig is over there, his Die Hard only pieces as well. Gerald's somewhere. He's not here yet, but he'll be here. Get all of their wonderful writing. He's asking me questions now. You get merch, free merch from the PHNXlocker.com. You also get merch just for Die Hards only. I got that jacket on the way. I could have used it today. Maybe I wouldn't have worn so many layers, but who knows. You have all sorts of benefits, though, and make sure to join us for these events. Get discounts, get Die Hard only invites to events. So much more. So make sure to grab yourself a Diehards membership over at gophnx.com. Well, Jesse, we talked at one point about the Arizona Diamondbacks maybe selling a minority share in the franchise to somebody, right? But at the time we brought up that the Los Angeles Angels at the time were the team everybody was looking to get sold and moved under owner Arte Moreno, but citing unfinished business. He ain't done yet. Arte Moreno has decided that his team is no longer for sale. The Los Angeles Angels are off the market, and a change of heart that shocked the industry and surprised a lot of people in the organization that thought they were going to see an ownership change. Moreno originally purchased the Angels from this guy, Mickey Mouse, a.k.a. the Walt Disney Company, in 2003 for $183.5 million. Now, here's what upsets me, Jesse. 2003 wasn't that long ago. Like, that's 20 years ago, if my calculations are correct. You might want to check the math on that for me. But that wasn't that long ago to purchase a franchise, not only for less than like $500,000 or $1 billion, but to purchase it for $183.5 million. The Angels were last valued by Forbes in March of 2022 at $2.2 billion with a B dollars. And was reportedly going to sell for $2.5 billion before Moreno backed out.
It's insane.
It's an insane amount of money.
It's a lot of money.
Imagine making essentially $2.3 billion in profit for your investment over the course of 20 years. I think that's a pretty damn good
It's a pretty decent return on your investment. I'm a little bit baffled by Moreno's statement. He said, during this process, it became clear that we have unfinished business and feel we can make a positive impact on the future of the team and the fan experience. I don't understand during this process. Like, if you already were in a place where, if you were in a place where you didn't think that you had unfinished business, that you weren't able to, bring the Angels to the place that you ultimately wanted them to be, what would have happened during the selling process that would have led you to think otherwise? Like, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it was the amount of money that they could get for it. It didn't seem like it was being undervalued. $2.5 billion or whatever the price would have been is a pretty decent amount of money and north of that Forbes evaluation that you talked about. So I don't understand. This just seems like kind of an empty statement to try to mask the fact that Moreno just decided he didn't want to sell after all.
Well, and I think it is, but I think it's an emotional statement. I think it's something that comes from the heart, right? I'm a big wrestling fan, and I know a lot of people know who Vince McMahon is. And right now, Vince McMahon, he was the guy that basically made WWF/WWE into the corporate juggernaut that it is, and eventually that corporate juggernaut grew so big that it kind of overtook him and bypassed him. And I think, in my mind, a guy like him still sees that giant corporate entity as being his family business and that he wants to get it back under his control. Sure. And there's efforts right now on his part to do so. I think that might be what happened here with Arte Moreno. I think that there is something to say about owning something like this for 20 years, a franchise, and really not viewing it as an investment any longer, not viewing it as something that you were trying to put your money into to make some money out of, and hopefully one day you would go live on a beach and not ever have to worry about baseball ever again because you'd be rich from the money you made off of it. And that all is very, very true for him right now.
Yeah.
It's like it bypasses that and consumes you to a point where you feel like you are part of that thing. And you don't possibly have an identity any longer without being the quote-unquote owner of this baseball team. Like, that's people make their careers into their identities, and I think that an owner can do the same, right? You become so attached to the organization, and you just wanted that one more World Series ring. You just wanted to not have them, not leave them in the gutter, kind of the way the Angels are as far as in the basement of their division and things like that, right? You kind of want to leave them in a better place maybe, or maybe just get that one more championship and swing for the fences before you head off into the sunset.
I mean, it's not like a one more I mean, it's not like the Angels have had all the success.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. They want that championship that he's never been able to get, right? I mean, that's part of it. Is there's something to be said about having that, that desire to at least do it one time or whatever. He's 76 years old. He doesn't. He's at a point now where if I'm being honest, he's just. He should walk away. He should do this. But baseball teams are ridiculously overvalued, and honestly, by keeping it for a few more years, and we're going to talk about this because we have to talk about the value of this. But before we get into the value of this, I do want to just clarify something, and this actually came from our friend at the Arizona Diamondbacks, Casey Wilcox. He imparted this little bit of wisdom on me.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, and he told me, do you know the difference between a million seconds and a billion seconds? Because at the time we were talking about millionaires and billionaires. You hear that with owners versus athletes, the war of millionaires versus billionaires. Right. But a million seconds, Jesse, is 12 days. But a billion seconds is 31 years. 31 years.
There's a bit of a difference there.
There's quite a bit of difference there. And if you equate that financially to money, there's also a big difference there as well. So, I mean, obviously this man could walk away with $2.3 billion in profit. But something we do around here, something new that we're trying out, is we talked about doing just putting ordinary objects through arbitration. And today it's no ordinary object, but we are going to put the Los Angeles Angels franchise through arbitration in another edition of Arbitration Conversation. All right, Jesse, so here's my thought, is obviously the big discussion here.
This one is utterly impossible.
This one's just a nightmare to figure out. But I think the thing that we should focus on here is, should Arte Moreno pass up on a $2.3 billion profit? I'm going to make the argument for yes. And the reason why is, as I've stated before, I feel like there needs to be separation between you and something like this, and you need to see the point of doing it was so that you would have a time in your life where this franchise that's still kind of a job is no longer part of your life, where you can move on. You can go to Costa Rica and just sit on a beach with no agenda. You could buy a one-way ticket to Thailand, just like Cliff Kingsbury, and nobody will question it.
So you're making the case that he should
I'm
sell
making
it now.
the sell that he should sell it now.
Okay,
And that's because he's 76 years old. He's still a good-looking dude. And my man needs to go be out there enjoying life and not sitting in an owner's box for 81 games a year, worrying about things like concession sales and players that they're going to bring back.
That's fair.
And all those little things that an owner actually has to have meetings about and make decisions on. This man has done it for 20 years, and he can walk away with a $2.3 billion profit. There's few things in life you can't do with $2.3 billion.
There's basically nothing in life.
There's nothing you can't do without that much money. And that's not even his only gig.
Buy the Phoenix Suns.
Exactly.
That's like the only thing you
right,
can't do.
Right. You could buy a minority ownership in it maybe, but Arte Moreno was born in Tucson, Arizona, so he is one of ours, and I am trying to look out for him.
I don't know. Is someone born in Tucson one of ours?
Yeah, that's a good point. He makes a good point. But I will say that I really think that at this point, you start getting to a point where it's like, yeah, he could have more money. Yeah, he could wait and probably sell it in another 10 years. But enjoy your life, man. Enjoy your life and move on. Let the organization take a different direction. Don't feel like you, at the end of the day, are the end-all, be-all of an organization, their trajectory, and their future. You know, just it's time to bid adieu, take your money, and go enjoy life.
Yeah, I mean, I do have to acknowledge from an Angels fan perspective, the Arte Moreno should sell, right? Like, I mean, he has not done a good job leading that franchise. There's no question about that. So from a baseball standpoint, from an Angels fan perspective, yes, I think Arte Moreno should absolutely sell.
You're not helping your case.
For the purposes of our little arbitration conversation debate.
I made him do this, by the way. He doesn't want to take this side.
There is a case to be made, and this is something that I've kind of heard around the industry, that given the state of the economy right now and the fact that a lot of people are fearing a recession, which we may or may not already kind of be in the middle of, you're not necessarily going to get the most for your investment if you sell right now, right? That's just the nature of the economy and kind of where the U.S. is right now, is that investors are more wary of paying big dollar amounts for things like baseball teams, right?
Billions and billions of dollars for an franchise investment like
this.
You
have to remember that these investors don't just have all this money sitting in cash in a bank account that they can just pull out at any time. Their money is
Disney does, but not everybody else
maybe Disney does. But you have to remember that, you know, the vast majority of their assets are going to be in the stock market. They're going to be in investments, the kinds of things that in this particular season of our economy are very volatile, and you know, you're prone to losing substantial amounts of money in a small amount of time right now. So from a pure business standpoint, I think, you know, maybe this isn't the best time to sell your franchise.
Yeah.
So that's the argument that I would make.
Well, and I will say this. The one thing right now about the ridiculous, and again, I don't know why we're helping each other's cases here, but
this is a much friendlier debate
than
the Arizona
Iced Tea. We still hate each other over the fucking Arizona Iced Tea. But I will say this, that, you know, there's something to be said by how fast the value is rising on these, right? 184 million, for argument's sake, 20 years ago, and now it's 2.5 billion. What's it going to be worth in 5 years? Probably over 3 billion, maybe even over 3.5. Who knows? I mean, the value is increasing at such an exponential rate, not to mention the fact that the value is there and the money that they're making back from these franchises at times. So it's a worthwhile investment. How can you not look at Arte Moreno's investment of 183 million and selling it for 2.5 and not think, oh my God, why wouldn't I get in on this, right? This is an incredible opportunity, and I don't foresee in the near future the value of sports franchises going down. It's not really going to happen.
No.
Like you said, it just might not be the best time to sell. It might be one of those situations where you have your house, you want to sell your house, but hey, wait maybe 2 years, and you would be amazed that you might be able to get like double of what you could get now in 2 years, even though it's that short of a time frame.
Yeah.
It's just based on the market and how things bounce back. But I will say that, of course, my biggest thing is, we're not here for a long time, Jesse. We're here for a good time. And that's what I want Arte Moreno to go out and do. Have himself a good time, enjoy life. I'm sure he's living it up. I'm sure being a baseball owner isn't the hardest thing in the world.
Angels fans want nothing more than for Arte
Moreno to ride off into the sunset.
And I do feel bad, man, for Angels fans who were I mean, like I can speak to this as a Suns fan, right? I mean, Robert Sarver, obviously, there's been a lot of bad things surrounding Robert Sarver for a number of years, and there's no question that he had a negative impact on the franchise as a whole. And could you imagine if the sale of the Phoenix Suns had fallen through for some reason, right? It would have been utterly devastating for Suns fans. And I really feel for Angels fans right now who finally felt like they were on the brink of bringing in, a new ownership group, the type of group that maybe would bring back Shohei Ohtani, that would actually invest in the farm system and try to build something more sustainable there. And unfortunately, they're getting, maybe Arte Moreno has, some ideas of things he can change. Maybe he has a new plan, but he's going to have to change something because what he has done there has not worked.
Maybe he does want to pivot and make this team a winner before he leaves. And, that would be equally great for Angels fans, but you gotta see it first.
I just hope they bring back Shohei Ohtani. If he sticks around and they don't bring back Shohei Ohtani, I think that's going to be a very, very tough pill to swallow.
Absolutely.
I mean, he was never guaranteed to come back in the first place,
sure,
but that would just accentuate, great, we have this owner who's not willing to bring back arguably the best player in baseball.
You make a great point, too. If they don't re-sign him, there's a good chance Moreno takes the flack for sticking around, and that's the reason why they don't.
There's a good chance that Ohtani plays for a team like the Dodgers, right?
Oh, shut up.
So,
God, I hate when
from
you
a
say
D-backs
stuff like that.
perspective, him staying with the Angels would also be a very positive development.
He's right. Keep him away from us. I don't want to root against Ohtani ever again.
I don't think I ever could.
No,
yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
I just can't. But anyway, thank you guys for sticking with us and rooting for us. We appreciate you guys being here on the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed already, sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss when any of our shows go live. Subscribe, hit that like button. We appreciate you guys doing that. If you're listening right now on your favorite audio podcasting app, make sure to subscribe there as well. Sign up for notifications or leave us a review. Download the podcast, even if you're watching us on YouTube. Just double dip, we appreciate that. But also leave us a review. We love the feedback as well. Also, Jesse loves your feedback on what furniture he should buy for his house from morefurniture.com.
I do.
He still doesn't know what to buy. We're having an argument about it. We're trying to get his brother to get in on this idea to rent out his place for the Super Bowl. Now, this man could make up to $25,000 for a week of people staying in his place.
I don't think I could make $25,000.
He could make up to $50,000 by having someone stay in his place for a week. I've seen the prices around here, Jesse. I'm not.
I think I could retire. I don't think I'd have to have a job
never have to do
anymore.
this show ever again if he just rented out his place for a week during the Super Bowl. But what he needs is ideas on what furniture to put in there in the meantime, because again, as we've talked about, all the Chase lounges, it's a big turnoff for people on Airbnb and VRBO trying to rent his place. So give him all the ideas on Twitter, of course, and of course utilize those ideas to get yourself some new furniture. I was realizing the other day, when you hate to actually admit that your couch is uncomfortable. I think up to that point. It's not like it's a very old couch, but it's just not comfortable. I need to go to morefurniture.com and get a new one. So you can do that too and save big on the best furniture in the Valley when you head to morefurniture.com and get that white glove delivery service. Make sure to get that and have it come in style, fancy. Wear a monocle when they're dropping it off. Maybe a tuxedo and a top hat. I don't know. I feel like it should be a very fancy experience when they bring it in with the white glove delivery service. But you can also get white glove delivery service on your Game Time experience, because get over to gametime.com, save yourself up to 60%. And by white glove delivery, I mean waiting until the last minute is what I mean. Procrastinate. Wait until the last minute, save on tickets, and know that you are going to have time to go to these events. Your time is special. His time is special. My time is special. We don't have a lot of time. We don't know. I'm triple booked on February 24th. I don't even know what show I'm going to go to, but had I waited, I would be able to organize my time better. And you can save up to 60% yourself by procrastinating and waiting to buy your tickets last minute on Game Time. Save up to 60% on tickets when you buy last minute. The best way to support us is by buying your tickets through the link in the description below. We have breaking news. Maybe. Sort of.
Kind of.
Unconfirmed.
Rumors,
leaks, whatever you want to call it. We discussed yesterday the new uninspired D-backs spring training batting practice hat leaked. But we're going to blame this one on uniwatch.com. They put out they put out everything about this hat, and basically they let us know that there was a good chance that not only was this a batting practice hat, but was also most likely the spring training hat. Well, that black and white hat that ugly hat that a lot of you on Twitter told us how much you didn't like may not, in fact, be the hat we thought it was. Because we were sent.
It's not the hat. It is a hat that will be available for purchase.
It's an actual hat.
It's
not a fake hat. It's not.
It's a real hat.
Someone didn't make this hat up. It's a real hat that really exists. But
you just might not see a Diamondbacks player ever actually wearing that.
Correct. Because we were sent this by a source, and we have to ask: is this the real spring training hat for the D-backs? Per a source, we were sent this image that appears to be the real spring training hat. And as you can see, it's red. Of course, we know it's not black and white. We know it's much better looking than the black and white thing that they put out there. It looks very much like last year's hat, Jesse. But there were a couple of things on this hat. Of course, we don't know. This is unconfirmed. We don't know if this image, we're not suggesting this image is fake. This is if it was a fake, this would be a very good fake. This would be a 10 out of 10 Photoshop, Jesse, if it was fake. But if you take a look at some of the details here a little bit, you can see this very much looks like the actual thing. We got the 23 patch over here on the side. It looks like the rubber, as you can see, sticking out there a little bit. We still have the mesh. I know you guys are saying same as last year, but last year's did not have a 23 on it. So
yeah, I mean, it could be the same design, but with a 23 on it.
Very much so.
Very, very, very possible.
Also has, as you can see here, the on-field sticker there. We're doing some real breakdown and analysis work here when it comes to these stickers and these patches. But again, maybe not a very inspired design, very much like last year's, but. You have to admit, after what we posted yesterday on Twitter, it's a much better thing. Maybe that was the idea. Maybe you leak that first hat first, and then people are kind of, set the bar low, disappointed about it. The Disney D, as some people like to call it, is back, though. I don't hate that because, my name's Derek, and I'm very much happy and in favor of a D logo. But, I don't know. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this hat. Like you said, it looks very much like last year's. But still, I feel like it's a step up from what we thought they were going to be wearing.
Yeah, it looks like a spring training hat. It just gives off spring training vibes, honestly. It's not, I don't know, it's kind of monochromatic. There's a lot of red in there. There's not a lot of variety of color. But
yesterday we were killing for any color.
Yeah, yesterday we were.
Just give us trim. Just give us anything.
Give us any splash of anything. And yeah, I think this is better than that. Granted, being pretty much the exact same hat as last year, if that is indeed the case, we don't have official confirmation on this yet. But
no official confirmation.
But yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily have a huge problem with it. Although, it'd be nice if they switched it up every year. That would be kind of fun.
What's sticking around? Gradient pattern sunburns on bald guys' head. And as a person with a bald spot, I don't appreciate that very much. I'm just saying.
I don't think the Diamondbacks have a player who is bald.
Christian Walker, Jesse. I'm not saying bald. I'm not accusing him. I'm saying he shaves his head. I'm saying he keeps it low and tight. Don't make me have to accuse people of having, John Cena-like hairlines now. But anyway, I still don't understand the purpose of the mesh in the back. I don't like that. I think a lot of people are very much turned off by that.
It's a subpar hat material. It just is.
Yeah. Ryan in the comments says why they go away from fitted hats. They're still fitted. They're just mesh. So they're not they're not one of those in the back. They're still a fitted hat, but they do inexplicably have like the trucker mesh on the back. So
yeah,
I don't know. I don't have any answers for you when it comes to the decisions that they make. We just try to bring you answers. That's what we try to bring you, at least the truth. And as much as we put that out there yesterday and everybody had thoughts on it, it appears like there's going to at least be some color in their spring training caps. But I tell you guys this before, there's no better way to watch sports than using the Underdog Fantasy app. Not only do you have their daily pick'ems, and this baseball season we are riding on pitch counts, but you also have their daily fantasy where you can draft your team against 5 of your friends, and the highest scoring squad that night can win cold, hard cash. Draft 6 NBA players with no positional limits, and that's it. Whoever scores the most points gets down. Oh, there's a little it's a little porcelain baby. But also, you see this thing. I want you don't know where this came from. I was going to put it in my beer, and then I thought that was the worst idea I ever came with. Yeah, it's from a barrel. A little porcelain baby's going to hang out with us, but this guy right here, he does daily fantasy sports hard. Okay, fine. There you go. Take it back. But it's a woman. Sorry. I don't even know what we're doing anymore. But I love the Underdog app. Shane, Bark for us. I don't know if they can hear it, but I wanted some barking anyway. He's going to come with barking. It's this easy to get started. First you bark. You do that. And then you go to underdogfantasy.com.
That's not what a dog sounds like.
You say that every time, but it really
not.
is. It's some dogs sound like that, Jesse.
Leah, do dogs sound like that?
Leah, tell them the dogs sound like that, please.
Only a dog that has been left alone for a very long time and is trying to escape.
It's a very distressed dog.
It is kind of distressed.
It's a dog that went 0 for 4 last night with his picks on Underdog Fantasy, but he can be an overdog, Jesse. He doesn't have to always be an underdog. It's easy to get started. Go to underdogfantasy.com, download the app, sign up with our promo code of PHNX, get yourself a free $100. The Underdog will match your first deposit up to $100. And then that money you save, you go to Octane Raceway, have yourself a blast by racing, go-karts against your friends, playing some video games, having a blast. The go-kart racing, the bowling, the arcade, it's my favorite place to be. And don't let the people here at Four Peaks hear me say that, because I feel like they might take exception to that. But you know what? They don't have pinball here, and they have that over at the Mavericks and Octane Raceway. And I get to race. I can't wait till Jacob comes back, because that's the first thing we're doing is we're going go-kart racing. He beat me thoroughly, and I don't like that one bit. So I will say this, though. Over at Octane Raceway and Mavericks, you got your fair share of daily specials. On Wednesdays, you can get the winning Wednesday half-price arcade games all day long, and of course, what better day to go than that?
The arcade games were phenomenal.
They were really great.
It was a great time.
They had a blast. We had a blast. Jesse and I killed zombies. The gun didn't work quite right, but we still got our
I think that
shots
was
in.
more of a you problem than
I don't
than
think
a gun
so.
problem.
I do not think that was a me problem. But they have Super Bowl packages over there, so make sure to grab one of those. They have an entire spread of food. Different food every quarter. The 4 quarters of food
That just
feast.
sounds dangerous.
It's the sole reason why I want to go. I wouldn't even watch the game. I would just be talking and eating the whole time. And then in between, they have this baseball game there at Mavericks that Jesse and I freaking loved.
It was incredible. It was
just
so
like
fun.
a little like pinball. I don't even know how to
It was
describe
like pinball baseball.
Yeah,
sort
it was
of.
so great. It was so great. So watch the big game over at Mavericks with dozens of 4K televisions, a 20-foot Jumbotron, 5,000 square foot restaurant, and more. Featuring a chef-curated menu, craft beers, and custom cocktails. Enjoy the Super Bowl experience at Mavericks. Book in advance at mavericks.com/thebiggame. Well, that's all I got. I'm going to go try to figure out this hat situation, because
We've got some more investigative reporting to do.
I really need confirmation on this. And also, I need to talk to the D-backs manager. I need to go full Karen and have a conversation with the D-backs manager. So, Tori Lavello, if you're out there, give me a call. We need to talk to you. But you know where to get me. I'm at Twitter. That's where everybody can get me. I'm at _caveman with a K. Jesse is at Jesse and Friedman.
You think Tori Lavello has a burner account?
No, he has multiple burner accounts.
Multiple
for
burner
sure.
accounts?
Actually,
Okay.
you know what? When Tori, I told Tori, like, well past the point I thought he knew we had a show. And I was talking about our show, and he responded with, "Oh, you have a show?" And I said, and I literally said, like, Tori, you don't watch us? And he goes, yeah, I couldn't watch anything like that. Like, it's like during the season, like, I can't let you guys get in my head with your talking and your nonsense. You guys know nothing. So I get it. But of course, you and your burner accounts can follow us at PHNX _D-backs. And that's the most important one. Follow us there. We are like 42 people away from 5,000, and I can't tell you how excited I am to hit that milestone.
We've got lots of things to give away.
That's right. We got lots of stuff to give away. Of course, also follow us at PHNX _sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We thank you guys again so much for being here. On behalf of Leah, Jesse, and myself, we always appreciate your time. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when your baseball hats don't have mesh in the back.